Welcome back, everyone. The Lakers were able to add some much needed young talent through the NBA draft, both through an actual draft pick and by picking up players who went undrafted. And while the big story was with them trading for the 35th overall pick, which eventually became Max Christie, they also made headlines by drafting two very well-known prospects. And as you probably know by now, those two happen to be Sharif O'Neil and Scottie Pippen Jr., both of which are somewhat known for their potential and skill level, but they are widely known for their family name. From that alone, they have generated a ton of hype, which is really not that big of a surprise. I mean, after all, they are the children of two all-time NBA greats. And although we are all aware of how good their fathers were, how good are they? And do they actually have NBA level potential? Or even the ability to crack a 15-man roster? Or are they all simply hype from their family name? We will talk about exactly that in today's video. Real quick though guys, I've noticed a lot of you were not aware that I had a second channel, and if you enjoy my content on this channel, but want to hear me talk about the entire NBA and not simply the Lakers, then I recommend you go check it out. I'll provide a link for it on the screen and in the video description down below. But without further ado, let's dive into the video. And we're going to begin by talking about Sharif O'Neil, as I've only briefly talked about his game up until this point. And while there are definitely a lot of fans overrating him purely from his family name, or underrating him due to having underwhelming college numbers, I think there's legitimate potential here. No, it may not be blatantly obvious right now, but Sharif O'Neil does have the ability to become a valuable modern day big. It's really all about him developing and further refining his game, which I will admit does need to happen relatively soon, as unfortunately for him, the NBA is not very patient when it comes to young players, and especially not with ones who went undrafted. Sharif O'Neil is already 22 years old, and that is the age where many NBA scouts begin to raise their level of expectations. Although, we do need to give Shareef some leeway here, because after all, he did miss a majority of his college career due to undergoing a heart procedure, and then having to recover from it as well. And that definitely set him back in regard to his development. But again, the NBA is not very patient, and they will only give him so long before moving on. With all of that in mind though, what can Sharif O'Neil do right now to prove that he belongs? And along with that, what can he do within the next 2 to 3 years to expand upon that? In my opinion, the first thing he needs to do is improve his motor. Sharif O'Neil is very gifted athletically, and even by NBA standards, he is an above average athlete for a power forward. But up until this point, he has not proven to have that drive to regularly outwork other players, and that is something that I think he needs to change before anything else. He is not yet skilled enough to consistently beat his matchup. Now, he definitely has potential in a number of areas, but he's not quite there yet with any of them. For right now anyways, Shareef needs to learn to be an energy and effort type of big, one who works hard on the rebound battle, puts a priority on defense, runs the floor, and overall plays with 100% effort every game. Like I mentioned before, he does have the athletic ability to beat his matchup. No, his game is not quite refined enough to out-talent them, but he can outwork them given the right effort. And if he can do that during Summer League, then he will have no problem getting a training camp invite, or even possibly being given a two-way contract from them, or potentially from a different team. That is the short-term outlook for him though. How about the long-term outlook? What can Sharif O'Neil look like in 2 to 3 years if he works hard and further develops his game from here? And that is where things get interesting, because he really has the potential to become a valuable modern day NBA big. He's already shown the ability to be a lob threat, a good rebounder, and a great athlete for a power forward or even small ball center. But what we've also seen from him in flashes is three-point shooting ability, being able to bring the ball up the court, and even create plays for others. All of that is very unique for a player of his size, and it's what made him a highly touted D1 prospect to begin with, which a lot of people have seemed to have forgotten about. Again, he's definitely a bit behind the curve in regard to development, but that is not to say he can't reach his potential, or part of it at the very least. Now, I do think he needs to improve his motor, along with bulking up before anything else, but there is no question about his potential, and if he is able to tap into it, then he could very well become a starting caliber NBA player. No, I don't believe he'll ever come close to what his father was, but then again, very few players in NBA history ever have, and I don't think him becoming a starter in the NBA is that hard to believe. How about Scottie Pippen Jr. though? He may not quite have the athletic gifts that Sharif O'Neil does, but he is undoubtedly the more proven player. Unlike Shareef, Scottie Pippen Jr. had a very good college career, coming off back-to-back years of averaging over 20 points per game and setting a Vanderbilt school record while doing it. He definitely has offensive potential. He's not your traditional playmaking point guard either. I mean, he can definitely create plays here and there, but he is primarily known for his scoring ability, and there is no denying anything about that. We already talked about the points he put up during college, but it's one thing to acknowledge him doing that, and another thing to actually understand how he was able to do it. I mean, it's not like he dominated his competition with his size. Measuring in at only around 6'1", he won't have the height advantage very often, and while he definitely is a good athlete, he won't really stand out among other NBA level guards. So what exactly made him so effective on offense? And well, it was really a combination of things, but the primary one would have to be his ability to navigate the court. He is great at getting to his spots on offense and really manipulating his matchup. Whether that is with a creative dribble move, knowing how to effectively use a screen, or even moving without the ball, Scottie Pippen Jr. is great at getting himself an open look. Again, he definitely needs some work in regard to getting his teammates a bit more open, but he is already an NBA level scoring talent. He is truly in that top tier when it comes to navigating the floor, and it's a gift that not many players have developed at his age, which in my opinion is really where he stands out on the court. However, that is not the only area. His quick trigger, ability to knock down tough shots, and his timing on defense are all very noteworthy as well. Now, his three-point shooting highlights are likely what will attract your attention, with him knocking down some insanely difficult three-point shots, but his timing on defense is what intrigues me. I would not call him a great overall defender, but he does have great timing, and yes, there is a difference between those two things. He definitely has some work to do in regard to on-ball defense, and overall commitment on defense as well, but you cannot deny his great defensive timing. He can seemingly telegraph a pass before it happens, and he is great at knowing when to jump a passing lane. Along with that, he has very active hands, he's very good at stripping the ball, and he can overall be a pest on defense when committed. If he is able to translate that over to the NBA level, along with becoming a bit more committed on defense, then he could very well become a Fred VanVleet type of player. A guy who, although might be a bit undersized, can definitely make an impact on both ends of the court. And with Pippen Jr. actually being more athletic than VanVleet, I don't think that comparison would be impossible for him to attain. Now, he does have a lot of work to do to get there, as he needs to improve as a playmaker, become a better off-ball player, and be more committed on defense once again, but there's definitely potential here, and he is much closer to it than Sharif O'Neil is. But much like Shareef, Pippen Jr. will have to work hard to reach it, and will likely have to prove himself in the G League before his NBA opportunity comes along. But with all of that being said, that will conclude my thoughts on just how good Sharif O'Neil and Scottie Pippen Jr. could eventually be for the Lakers. And what do you guys think? How do you view them both in the short term, and then in the long term as well? Comment your thoughts down below. That will do it for this video though. Big thank you to those of you who took the time to watch until the end of this video, and until the end of all of my videos in general. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and turn on notifications to get notified right away when I drop a new video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.